Hi, this is Mash Rundown. If you've been enjoying our content, subscribe and hit the like button down below. It really helps us out.
Today we're going to be doing our Season 1 review for My Hero Academia.
My Hero Academia is set in a world that has quirks. So quirks are essentially superpowers, and it follows the main character Deku. So Deku was born quirkless, which means he doesn't have a superpower. But his dream is really to go to superhero school, especially UA, which is one of the most famous superhero schools in that universe. And it follows his journey to UA and his journey to actually becoming the thing he really dreamt of becoming and fulfilling his goals in life. And that is a superhero.
Let's take a look at the themes. Now, we can't look at My Hero Academia and specifically Deku without thinking about perseverance and determination. He just doesn't stop. Through broken bones, through being quirkless, through any setbacks he has, he perseveres on. He's very determined. And it's one of the enduring characteristics of the character for me is he has these setbacks all the time, but he just keeps going.
I know that perseverance can be very admirable, but at times I worry because he chases his dreams to such an extent that sometimes it seems beyond reason, especially when he was quirkless.
Yes.
So, it's almost like saying don't give up no matter what. But you also have to have a plan B. You have to have reason behind what you're doing, because if you have this dream that is unlikely for you to accomplish, you're going to be set back a lot of the times. And it's not to say you should give up and not have dreams, but rather you should have a plan B in case plan A doesn't work out. And in this story, Deku does definitely not do that.
And I think All Might kind of echoes that in their very first interaction, where he says, being quirkless, you're probably not going to be a hero. Maybe look at an auxiliary career, like a police officer or something like that. It's still admirable. It still is in line with what you're looking at, but slightly adjacent.
Yeah. I think it's important to have a plan B.
Yeah.
That moves us onto pride. I think pride as a theme is very prominent in the show because you have All Might. He is so much the American world hero. He kind of reminds me of Captain America. He was very proud. He stands out. He wants to assure everyone with his smile. Sometimes it comes off a bit cocky, but he does it because he's proud. He wants to assure people, but his pride is sometimes a detriment to him because he pushes himself too far, and that leads to negative consequences on his health, but he's still not able to reconcile with the fact that now he's limited. So he still pushes himself, still wants to maintain this prideful image. But he does it out of wanting to give hope to people. So even though it's admirable, it's still self-destructive. And then you have another character, Bakugo. He's very prideful, but he's prideful to the detriment of others. So he's almost the antithesis of All Might, because he wants to be the top, he wants to help everyone and be the best, but he wants to do it by putting other people down. So if you can't compete with me because I've put you down, it means I'll be the best. But if somehow you manage to compete with me, then I'm not the best anymore because you managed to do what I did. So it's very negative, and his pridefulness leads to a lot of anger that he has to learn to deal with in the series. And sometimes I wonder whether he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy.
Another theme is just mentorship in general. All Might becomes Deku's mentor. He takes him under his wing. He tries to help him become a hero. And you can see a nice dynamic, a nice relationship between the two of them. You can see All Might struggles to keep his professional teaching and he's wanting to help Deku at all times separate, because he needs to be a bit impartial as being a teacher, but he can't. It's also quite apt that All Might becomes Deku's mentor, because All Might was basically the male figure in Deku's life. We don't know what happened to Deku's father, but he's not in the picture in any of the flashbacks. We know he can breathe fire, but that's about all we know about Deku's father. So even though All Might was only there for him on the TV screens, on that video that he kept replaying, All Might's been that constant father figure for Deku, and now he's a physical mentor for him as well. So it's quite enduring.
And I think it's important because these days with YouTube and vlogging, you do almost become an acquaintance of the person you watch on these streaming services. Because even though you don't know them personally, you kind of do.
Yes.
Because you watch their daily blogs, you watch their videos, you get to know almost everything about them. So it's a one-way relationship, but for you as a person watching, it is a relationship and it is important to you. And I think that this show actually highlights the changing environment of media, especially social media, on children and on society in general. And just be mindful of the kind of things that you watch and the kind of people you follow, because I think it does influence you. And these online personas do become part of your life, part of your family.
The villains are also worth mentioning here as they are very unnatural. We've got a smoke villain and we've got these deformed, malformed villains. The main villain decays people when he touches them. So it's this very distance from actually humanity. And it makes you wonder, are these villains because of their quirks, or just happen to have very apt quirks for being villains?
Yeah. I think especially because they've been so dehumanized through their quirks, I wonder if other people have treated them very poorly growing up and treated them as if they weren't human. And so it was easier for them to dissociate from society and from the morals and values society teaches because they were already outcasts. So that moves us on to the good.
Overall, it's a very fun story. It's enjoyable to watch. I found the quirks very interesting. Even some of the more basic quirks, how they used them, was also very interesting, very well done.
I think there was really nice character development throughout the show, especially for the good guys, because you get a lot of background and insight into the characters and their motivations, and it really helped not only with the character development, but actually establishing good characters to start off with. I think, though, that the bad guys didn't get enough character development. You don't have enough understanding of their motivations on why they're bad, why they're doing what they're doing. So it would be nice, I hope, for the second season to actually develop those characters a bit more, because I thought that the bad guys were really interesting.
Overall, the animation is really cool. I enjoyed all the fight scenes. Everything was very high quality, which is great. Also, I liked that All Might was slightly different. He was animated slightly differently. So he really stands out as the symbol above everybody else, and it works very well with the story.
I wasn't a fan of the animation. I still prefer the Rising of the Shield Heroes animation. I think this animation at times is a bit lazy. And for me, just as far as characters, I preferred Eraserhead.
Yes.
I think his uniqueness is in the fact that he doesn't really look like everyone else. All the other heroes have these very bright costumes, really. And he's dressed in black with a scarf around his neck, essentially.
Yeah.
But I think that suits him very well because he comes across as more introverted. He doesn't want everyone to know everything about him. He doesn't want to be in the limelight. He wants to be a bit more in the shadows. And I think that gives him that advantage because not all the bad guys really know who he is. And I also think that it's nice to see a series about heroes looking at different types of heroes, looking at the extroverts like All Might, looking at the introverts like Eraserhead without Eraserhead being weak.
Yes.
And in the show, he's constantly in his cocoon. And I'm 100% sure I've seen that picture somewhere because it just looks so familiar, but I don't know where from before I watch the show. And I think that cocoon is just a nice representation of the fact that he is introverted. He is a bit awkward in society. And he doesn't necessarily always want to be around people, but he still cares about people. He still wants to save people. So being an introvert doesn't mean you don't care about people. Doesn't mean you can't teach, you can't be a hero. You can. It's just a different type of personality. And I like that a lot. That moves us to the bad. I think for me, the series was a little bit slow in the story development. Even though I enjoyed the story, I felt like it could have gone a little faster. And I almost wish it was more episodic in nature because I really enjoy episodic shows. I kind of lose interest if it's just this one long continuous story that isn't broken up a little bit by other mini stories.
Yeah. For me personally, I really hated the character Mineta. He adds absolutely nothing to the show. He's creepy and pervy, and he doesn't fit. You've got all these great characters, and then you've got this meh character that just doesn't work in the world. I don't like him.
And he seems very underdeveloped both in personality, in stature, in powers, and everything compared to the rest of the characters.
Yeah.
So I don't know if season 2 and upwards will make him a more enduring character. I doubt it.
Yeah.
From what we've seen so far.
He would have to almost have a complete personality change.
Yeah.
So overall, the first season was a lot of fun, but it felt more like an intro, like a setup for more. And I think it really highlighted the danger of having one single symbol of peace.
Yeah. So that moves us to the ratings. For me, it's a respectable 6.
And I'd give it a good solid 8.
So overall, that leaves My Hero Academia with a 7.
So let us know in the comments down below, what's your favorite quirk?
Bye.
Later.